What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another piece of Spooky on the Weekly. I am, of course, your host and narrator, Henrik Kuto, and thank you for joining me for some more thrills and chills as we are on our way. We are on the cusp of spooky season, and really it's already begun. I've already been to a Halloween store 3 times in the month of September, so I'm feeling it. I hope you're feeling it. And of course, the month of October will lead us into our 1-year anniversary of podcasting, of bringing you scary stories every single Wednesday. And we have a very special treat. In the month of October, there will be 5, count them, 5 episodes of the show instead of 4. We will have a new episode every Wednesday and a very special episode for Halloween. So hope you guys tune in for that. Check it out. Also, please go to weeklyspooky.com and check out the link about our brand new book. Now, it's not a Weekly Spooky book per se, but there are many familiar faces from Weekly Spooky involved. It's an 11-story anthology book meant for parents and kids who really like to be scared, because it is not Goosebumps. It is a little closer to Fear Street, but it is definitely something you will enjoy if you like being scared, and it supports the show. So head to weeklyspooky.com, click on the book link, and see if you want to get yourself a copy for the spooky season. It'll start shipping next week. But now that I have that all out of the way, I also want to mention I had a great birthday last week. Thank you all who wished me a happy birthday, and thank you for all who sent gifts, donations, etc. You really, really help us out a lot. This week's story is a first for Weekly Spooky because this story is technically a sequel to a prior story. That's right, we're going back to Rob Field's Strickfield saga, this time with a little follow-up to People Can Lick 2, which was episode 37. Now, you don't need to listen to it to understand the story, but if you want to go back and listen, feel free. But now it's time we get to the story. This is a good one I enjoyed very much, because sometimes truth is scarier than fiction, and sometimes family is scarier than monsters. Enjoy.
Silvia by Rob Fields.
I was sleeping in my bed. I woke up when I heard a loud dripping noise. I groaned and then put my hand down off the bed. As usual, my dog, Sparky, licked it while lying under my bed. I tried to get back to sleep, but that dripping was just too loud. I got out of bed and went across the hall to the bathroom. I turned on the light and screamed when I saw my dog was hanging on the shower nozzle by his neck. Sparky's blood was dripping onto the shower floor from his wounds. Then I saw the message on the mirror, written in Sparky's blood.
People can lick too.
I felt my heart drop fast. I turned to see my ex-girlfriend, Silvia Charmer, standing in the doorway now. Her large boa constrictor was wrapped around her like a fur. "Hi, Zach. I told you I'd have my revenge for you killing Copy." I was speechless. I knew Jensen Mirren, my other ex-girlfriend, was crazy. Dead now, but crazy. But Silvia? Once again, Silvia's green eyes burned right through me. Before I could say anything, she raised her leg and kicked me hard in the gut. I staggered backward and fell into the shower. I was lying in Sparky's blood, but what really scared the shit out of me right then was seeing those sickening movements in Sparky's corpse right above me. My eyes were wide open, and I gulped hard. "That's right, Zach. I got my revenge by killing your dog. What's sad is that I really loved Sparky, and it hurt me to have to kill him. But you killed Copy. She produced a sharp knife, the one she killed Sparky with. And my babies want revenge too. After all, Copy was family. Revenge is a bitch, isn't it? This is for copy, you murdering piece of shit. Using the knife, she sliced open Sparky's stomach with one movement. I screamed like hell as a bunch of poisonous snakes hissed loudly as they dropped right on me. After feeling one snake bite after another, I knew this was the end. I screamed and sat up in my bed. I was gasping for breath, and I was soaked with sweat. Oh man, I gasped in between breaths. Holy shit! Then I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. I screamed and shot out of bed, only to have my legs get tangled up in the covers and make me fall to the floor. I still managed to free myself and get to the light switch. I turned on the lights and saw Sparky! My German Shepherd stood on my bed and just looked at me, as if he was asking me what's wrong. I went to him and started petting him. I even gave him a big hug. Man, Sparky, you're still here. I can't believe I had that fucking awful nightmare. But I had to be sure. I let go of Sparky and got off the bed. I moved cautiously across the hall into the bathroom. I turned on the light and looked at the mirror. No message was written in blood, just clean mirror glass. Then I quickly returned to the bedroom and looked underneath the bed. I knew that Sparky was just underneath it, but I had to know. Aside from some of Sparky's toys and a few rawhides, nobody was underneath there. Not even Silvia Charmer. Fuck! Even after everything that happened with Jensen Mirren and her killing my family and all the fucking snakes and everything, why can't I stop thinking about Silvia Charmer? I sat on the bed and groaned as I put my hands to my head. Then I felt Sparky lay down next to me. I lowered my hands and started petting him again. Why do girls have to be so complicated, boy? I asked him. Why can't they be simple? Like you? Sparky just barked once to answer me. I patted his head and knew I wasn't getting to sleep tonight, especially when I just couldn't get Silvia Charmer out of my mind. The next morning, I was hanging out in Wilder Hall, our student union building, before I'd have to go to class. I had to drink some extra caffeine just to make sure I wouldn't fall asleep. Like I said, Silvia Charmer haunted me now. I just couldn't stop thinking about her. Was I scared to death of her? Then I remembered how she came to comfort me that Friday, 2 weeks ago, in the science lab where I was working. She said she would get revenge on me for killing her pet snake, Copy. But before that, Silvia and I had actually shared a deep, passionate kiss. I should have been over her, but she kissed me and I gave in and kissed her back. Did I really still love her? I knew today was going to be a long day. Shit, it would be even longer since it was Friday. I yawned and started to make my way to class. I grabbed an energy drink out of a vending machine along the way. I was ready to crack open the can, and then I dropped it, and my books. There she was! Silvia Charmer stood only a good 10 feet from me now. Her naturally flaming red hair looked like a fire today, and her glowing green eyes burned hot, burned right through me. Her red lipstick looked like it could have been blood. She just looked right at me. Her stare continued to burn through me. She was still furious with me over killing her snake. I could even see her shaking a little. I wanted to move past her or even turn and run. She gave me that look that dared me to try. She remained silent for the longest time. Then she finally spoke one word, in a very deadly whisper. Tonight. Then she blew me a kiss before she turned and walked away. I had just finished locking all the doors and windows. I even found my dad's shotgun and loaded it. Sparky stood with me, and of all the things that could be happening, there was a fucking thunderstorm outside, and a bad one. Damned if it didn't remind me of all the horror stories Silvia and I used to watch together, with scenes similar to what I was experiencing. Jesus, Sparky, why me? I groaned. Sparky just made a few doggy noises, but he still stood with me like the loyal friend that he was. And then I realized I had forgotten to check the basement windows. I moved to the basement door, turned on the lights, and started downstairs. Then, about halfway down, I remembered that the windows were all thick one-piece glass blocks that couldn't be opened. I turned around and headed back up. As soon as I turned off the basement light, there was a big flash of lightning followed by a loud crash of thunder. Suddenly, the back door burst open. Silvia Charmer just stood right there now. Again, her eyes burned right through me. She was soaking wet from the rain and had a backpack on. She also had her boa constrictor around her neck, like a fur stole, just like in my nightmare. "Hello, lover," she purred as she came inside. "Did you miss me? Not like I missed you." I didn't know what to say to her. I was more surprised by how she had just forced open the back door. It had 3 fucking locks on it, including a deadbolt. Now she stood in the kitchen as she removed the backpack and opened it. Then she turned it upside down. Boy, did I ever scream when all those fucking snakes dropped out of it. Silvia laughed now. Oh, the look on your face. Then her eyes burned through me again as she pointed right at me. "Corner him, babies, but do not kill him. Yet." Sparky came to my side and started barking at the snakes. Then Silvia gasped when she saw Sparky. "Leave the dog alone. I do not want him hurt. At all." She pointed at me again. "I'm here for you, you fucking bastard." She shook and tightened her fist. "You killed my copy." I knew the front door was the only way to escape, but there were 4 locks there. Leave it to my deceased parents, even with all this security, it didn't keep Jensen Mirren from killing my family. Of course, she didn't kick down a heavily bolted door, but I knew that even if I worked the 4 locks, Sylvia's snakes would reach me before I could escape. Sparky barked loudly as 3 snakes cornered him. They obeyed Silvia and never made any attempt to bite him. They just hissed at him, probably to warn him to stay still. I remembered I had my dad's shotgun and went to raise it. Too late. I felt something heavy land on me and realized Silvia had thrown her boa constrictor at me. I had no idea how big that snake really was until it wrapped itself around me, tightly. Then I groaned as it squeezed me more. "Strickfaden, no," Silvia told it. "I don't want him dead yet." The large snake just looked her way and nodded at her. She turned to her remaining snakes. "We've got Zach now, babies. I want to talk to him before we kill him." Then she looked at me. "I told you I'd get revenge for you killing Copy. He was family." She was so angry that she started heaving as she was breathing. "I'm so beyond pissed at you right now." Then she yelled some more. "First you broke up with me because you saw I had snakes. You fucking ghosted me for months. On top of that, you get yourself another fucking girlfriend and a psycho at that." Her eyes burned into me so much now, I could have sworn they actually burned me hot. Then she screamed, "And you killed my snake! I just wanted us to make things right, and you shoved me to the floor. Then you killed Copy." She heaved and heaved. I knew any second she was going to order her snakes to kill me. She'd probably start by ordering her boa constrictor to crush me to death. She heaved and heaved even more now, and then I saw that she was starting to cry. Finally, she sank to her knees and began to sob uncontrollably. The snakes slithered in this weird way. It was as if they knew their girl was hurt. Yeah, she was hurt all right. I was the one who hurt her. I was scared of her snakes, and I walked out on her. I was scared of Copy when he tried to defend his master 2 weeks ago, and I killed him for it. In doing that, I had hurt Silvia again. I even started to cry myself now. I now knew that I had hurt Silvia so badly that I had reduced her to this. I had no right. "I'm sorry, Silvia," I choked out. "I'm so sorry about everything." I didn't care if the boa constrictor was still around me. I wanted to look Silvia in the eyes. If I was going to die tonight, I wanted her to know. I lowered myself in front of her. "I love you, Silvia. I never stopped loving you. I don't blame you for being pissed at me. I was so wrong to hurt you like I did. Go ahead and kill me if it'll make things right with you." Zach, she choked out. She raised her hand and put it on the side of my face. I never stopped loving you. I really want to kill you for killing Copy. But I can't stop loving you. I can't. Strickfaden, release him. Her boa constrictor loosened itself and moved away from me. Then Silvia came at me and crushed her lips against mine. I felt myself come alive again with that kiss. Silvia and I wrapped each other up and kissed hot and heavy. Silvia and I were sleeping in my bed. We spent several hours burning it with all the hot makeup sex we had. I didn't deserve Silvia Charmer by any stretch. But we were together again. Snakes or no snakes, for better or for worse. I tried to run from my fate, only to be drawn right back to Silvia. We were spooned up together and sleeping through the storm that just kept raging on. I woke up and realized that Silvia was still right there with me. I could still smell her on my sheets and pillows. Suddenly she sat up, as if coming out of a deep sleep, and turned around. I screamed when she opened her mouth, really wide, and hissed loudly at me. She had long snake fangs, and her glowing eyes looked more like green snake eyes. Her tongue was even forked. Then I felt myself wrapped up, the same way Strickfaden had wrapped me up earlier. The entire lower half of Silvia's body was all a giant snake coil. Her naked upper body was still human. "You belong to me now, Zach," she whispered, snake-like. "Love me, my boy. Love me." I sat up in bed and was gasping for breath. Suddenly I felt a soft hand on my shoulder. "Zach? What's wrong?" I looked to see Silvia Charmer was still here with me. She still looked quite human. Yes, we truly did make love. We did have incredible makeup sex. When I woke up from my nightmare, I woke her up too. I just had a bad dream, I told her. "I'm sorry." I took her in my arms and held her to me. "I'm so sorry. About everything, Silvia." She hugged me back. "Me too, Zach. I missed you so much." The bed felt a little heavier now. We both turned to see Sparky had joined us. Silvia brightened when she saw him. "Sparky! Hi, baby!" Sparky barked once and started licking Silvia's face. I remembered how much he really loved her. Silvia laughed and petted him for a little bit. After a while, he got off the bed and went back underneath it. Then I looked just past her, to see her snakes in the far corner near my closet. They looked our way, but didn't advance. "It's okay, Zach. My babies won't harm you," she assured me. "I promise." Silvia's word was good enough for me. We laid back down. We were about to spoon up again and go back to sleep, but we started kissing again, and soon we were having some more makeup sex. Silvia and I were an item again. In fact, she asked me to bring Sparky and move in with her at her mansion. She promised me that her snakes would not harm us, so I took that leap of faith and started living with her. Every now and then, I could see her snakes slithering around. Maybe I was paranoid, but I could feel that they wanted to kill me. I think I waited for them to gang up on me when Silvia wasn't around. They never did, though. Strickfaden came and sat next to me on the couch a few times and just looked at me, but he never attacked either. Silvia made it perfectly clear to the snakes that they were never to harm me or Sparky in any way. "He's mine," she stated simply when she saw them looking right at me one day. We lived happily together now. It was almost as if we'd never broken up. Not only did we burn her bed again and again, but I'm sure we must have christened every room in her mansion. Many times. I couldn't tell you how many times we set her indoor pool on fire. I still say I didn't deserve this beautiful creature, but I was so happy that she was mine again. Even the snakes being around didn't bother me so much anymore. Silvia came home one Saturday afternoon months later. She seemed a little off. "You okay, babe?" I asked. "I just got back from Strickfield General Hospital," she sighed and then smiled. "I'm pregnant. We're gonna have a baby, Zach. I mean, Wow, we actually did it in spite of the fact that I was on birth control. You're serious? Us? A baby? Yeah, I was just as shocked as she was. She nodded quickly. I don't know whether to be excited or scared. I didn't need to think about it. I'm not going to leave you again. Never again. I pulled her to me and held her. I love you so much. And then I just said it. Marry me, Silvia. I heard her gasp. Then she pulled back and looked into my eyes. She was crying now. Really? Marry me, Silvia, I repeated. Yes, she shrieked, snatching me to her. Yes, yes, yes. And from there, we went inside and burned Silvia's bed again. 9 months later, I was in the waiting room at Strickfield General Hospital. Sylvia was my wife, and she was giving birth to our son. I couldn't believe how things had fallen into place. I couldn't imagine my life without Sylvia, especially with our son coming into the world. It seemed like forever before the doctor finally came out, but he did. You can go and see your wife and son, Mr. Jenner. It seemed like I glided on the hospital floor as I moved quickly to Sylvia's room. When I got in, my beautiful wife was crying softly. Then she smiled when she saw me. Here's Daddy, little one. You want to say hi to your daddy? I stood beside her bed now. You all right, love? We did it, Zach, Sylvia whispered. We made this perfect little person. You want to hold him? She handed our son to me. Did you name him? I asked, taking him from her. I did. I named him Copy. And then the baby suddenly sat up in my arms and hissed at me. The baby had snake eyes, a wide-open mouth, and started flickering his forked tongue. He had a lower snake body where his legs should have been. I looked at Sylvia. Her eyes were now the snake eyes from my other nightmare. She hissed and threw her blanket away. Her lower body was also snake-like. Just like before, she got off the bed and slithered towards me. That's right, husband. His name is Copy. My snakes demanded that I kill you for taking his life that day. Sylvia had me backed into a corner. Then she looked into my eyes. But I couldn't just kill you. So I decided on another alternative. A life for a life. You gave me a beautiful baby boy. And now, our baby needs nourishment. Then I screamed as our newborn son sank his snake fangs right into my neck. When the baby finally pulled away, Sylvia raised her snake body up high enough to where she could open her mouth really wide and bring it right down over me. I felt myself being lifted off the floor and sliding down into her body. I felt myself shaking as she swallowed me, more and more. It was so fucking dark now. So very, very dark. I cried out and woke up to find a nurse was shaking me. I reached out to put my hand on her forearm. What is it? The nurse looked at me as I was gasping from fright, but she remained calm. I just came out here to tell you that you can go see your wife and your new son, Mr. Jenner. I collected myself and then nodded quickly. I got up and let the nurse lead me to Sylvia's room. Sylvia had the happiest smile I'd ever seen. I could see that she had our baby cradled in her arms. Then she brightened up when she saw me. Honey, then she said to our baby, I want you to meet your daddy. She looked back up at me. You want to hold him? Yes, I said quickly. Sylvia handed me our son. I looked him over carefully. Unlike my nightmare, our baby had a little patch of red hair on his head. Sylvia's hair was actually a mix of fiery red and yellow, but the baby's hair was the same red shade that hers was. I'll leave you three alone, the nurse said and walked out. I looked to my wife. Do we have a name for our son yet? I thought about naming him Copy, she said. My heart started pounding. Oh fuck, my nightmare was really coming true. I felt my heart grow heavy. Why did I think I could ever be happy again when Sylvia was still pissed at me for killing her copperhead snake that day? I decided I had had enough. I handed our son back to Sylvia. I took her hand as she cradled our son with the other arm. Sylvia, I am so sorry what I did to Copy. I know I can never make up for that. I just know I love you, and I wish I could take back all the hurt I ever gave you. I wish that... Silvia pulled her hand away from me and pointed at me sharply. Stop right there, Zach. I raised my hands in front of me. No, Silvia, I can't take this anymore. If you want your revenge on me, then just take it. I won't run from you. I can't. I love you too much. Silvia glared right at me, but this time, her eyes didn't burn right through me. I did want revenge. My snakes demanded that I take revenge, but I couldn't. I forgave you a long time ago. Look at us now. We have each other. We're married. She held up our son. We made him together, you and me. Can we please move past this? I love you, Zach. I love our son. Let's continue to make our life together. As a family. Please. I didn't know why, but I looked down at Silvia's covers. I could easily see the shapes of 2 human legs underneath. No big snake body. I swear those fucking nightmares were driving me crazy. Silvia wasn't some kind of snake woman, and our son wasn't some kind of little snake monster we had made together. I shared a brief kiss with Silvia. Then I looked at her. Okay. His name is Copy. It's been 3 years now. Silvia and I live alone with our son. We couldn't be any happier together. What happened? After we graduated from Strickfield University, I took over my parents' veterinary clinic, and Silvia worked at home as a computer programmer. I even started taking reptiles, including snakes, as part of the family practice. Silvia and I were really going to make it. Even after all the pain and hurt, we were really going to make it. The only sad thing was that Sparky finally passed away. I was forced to put him to sleep myself to put him out of his misery. I know Silvia was just as devastated as I was, since she really loved Sparky. She was the last person he saw before he left us. Silvia's boa constrictor, Strickfaden, ended up becoming my new best friend. No, he wasn't Sparky, but just the way he looked at me reminded me of him so much. I was sitting out on the back patio with Strickfaden when Silvia came to me. She looked as happy as could be in spite of just coming back from Strickfield General Hospital. We both saw Copy playing and running around. Silvia put her hand on my shoulder, and I put my hand on her hand. In spite of being a parent and the many sleepless nights it brought, I still loved this woman deeply, and I was still proud to call her my wife. You're in a good mood, I said. I put Strickfaden down so Silvia could sit on my lap and face me. We shared a kiss. Then she said, We're not done having sleepless nights yet, honey. Well, if you're talking about our bed burning, she laughed a little. No, are you kidding me? We'll never be done with doing that. She moved one of my hands down to her belly. I kept taking the best birth control, but you still managed to stick babies inside me. I'm pregnant. I was so excited that I held Silvia tightly to me. As I did, I noticed little Copy was sitting down and playing again, but now he was holding a rattlesnake in his hands. I didn't recognize the snake as one of Silvia's pets. As I watched, the snake never made any movement to bite Copy. Suddenly, I saw Copy move fast and pick up something. A mouse. He held it up by its tail with one hand while he held his new rattlesnake friend with the other. And before I knew what to think next, Copy had opened his mouth wide and devoured the mouse, just like that. After he finished his snack, he looked my way and laughed innocently. I could even see his snake eyes now. Did that really just happen? Or am I just having another nightmare? I must say, Rob Fields is doing some really interesting and creative things with this world he's building within Weekly Spooky, the world of Strickfield. He's got lots of cool stuff going on, and we have lots of great stories, so make sure to keep an eye out for the next Rob Fields story so you can find out what other dastardly, bizarre, strange, or downright creepy things are happening in Strickfield. I love the idea that some of the stories we're reading are actually kind of building a universe, and that's a really cool thing that Rob's doing. And Rob is so prolific. I have so many more stories from him for you all to enjoy very soon. And speaking of people who are making incredible contributions to the show, I want to take a second to say thank you so much to our patrons. In particular, our podcast booster patrons, which are Karen Weemet, Jason Lindberg, Jack Kerr, Jeff Hilton, Craig Cohen, Rob Fields, and Kevin Fry. Thank you guys for making the show possible every single week by making your contribution. And if you want to get involved with Weekly Spooky, helping us make the show, maybe get your name read on the air, or you want to submit a story that we might read, go to weeklyspooky.com and you'll find all the information you need. And I am dying to hear from you. So anyway, my friends, I need to get out of here. I am going to do some yard work and wait for the cool embrace of fall to fully arrive so that I don't have to water the grass anymore. So please take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, stay scared, listen in the dark, because it is indeed more fun that way. And if you get a chance, check out the new book, Campfire Stories to Tell in the Dark. Find all that information at weeklyspooky.com. I will see you guys next Wednesday with another scary story. So, for our producer Dan Wilder and our wonderful composer Ray Mattis, I will see you next week and talk at you later.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.